Hey there team, this is Gen GC here. If ever you're kind of wondering why I know a little bit more about the game than my level suggest, this is my alt. Yeah, I've been doing the game a long time. This is actually my probably fourth or fifth alt. I'm now running my sixth. You kind of learn more every day and you get to a point where you think, you know what, I've got to a level I'm happy with and then I'll restart. So if ever you want to have a little chat about what comes next, rest assured that I've probably been there. I'm getting a little bit out of touch with some of the top end stuff now, but you can probably see that I've got most of the inventory you'll ever need until you get to the absolute latest. I've probably got most of the Zeus strikers, striker IFVs when they were there, and Bradleys, Grizzlies. Never really got much into Terminators because it was shite. Scimitars, Kodiaks and things like that. So you can likely tell that I've got options there if you need them or if you want to know what's going on with a particular unit. There'll be certainly ones where I've worked out halfway through that you don't do, like Shredder. Toss was a fucking absolute waste of time. GMLRS is not so good when you've got HIMARS, to be perfectly honest. And I've got obviously Leopards maxed, Overlords I've got into, Paladins I've got into, Centurions, not a bad unit to be fair. Chopper wise, I've got the Reavers up to 11, then got Board. And then obviously I've got up to Raven, Ghost Rider, particularly F-35 and all that kind of business. So I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, spent a shitload of money, and then decided it's not for me, so restarted. So if ever you need a little bit of help, want to know what's going on, that's why I know a little bit more about what I do. Plus I've been a general of some of the top teams, including SOG, Tango, Fox, X-Ray, and Group, all in the SOG clan. So chances are it's probably my fault if they've been kicking in your ass, because that's the way I taught them. Okay, so what you can do with an alt, however, is use it to scan your other base. So here's Gen GC, reincarnated. And then what that enables you to do is kind of like have a little look at a player. So I'm kind of gonna, as if I was gonna attack myself. So the first thing I would do is kind of like check myself out, if you will, or check the opponent out. So I can see this guy here, myself, has got a PvP of around about 3187. So for my level, that's reasonably good. So I must know my onions a little bit. I can scroll down here and I can see that I've got 3 level 3 fobs. Probably by now should have level 4. But sometimes if you look at fobs and you think, well, hang on a second, that player there looks like he's got fobs. Sometimes you can see a high level player and he's got like level 1 fobs. You think, fucking hell, I'll have some of that. I'll take them out. If I then click on the particular player, I could have a little scout. I could see who he belongs to. So I could click on the enemy. I could see the enemy's stats in particular. So I can see that we as a team have a 79% attack rate. I can see that we've attacked 55 control points and claimed them. We've got a defending rate of 32%, which maybe could be improved. We've been going a long while. I can see what the tech rate is. So before you get involved, you can kind of see what you're going to get up against. So if you're planning a CP raid, you might be able to see what your opponent's skill sets are. And then you could maybe even have a look at the team. See who the big guys are. Obviously, this is in rank order, but also you can see how active they are, by the scores that they're putting in there. So you can see some teams are fucking huge on the scores. You think that's not somebody to mess with, but overall, you can kind of get an idea of where they're coming at. But as a player in particular, first thing I look at is here. I'm looking at his, not so bothered about his attack rate. He might want to, strike me back. But a low attack rate would suggest that the player hasn't got a fucking clue what he's doing, or he probably hasn't got very strong units. He might have maxed his base. He might be a big base. He might be a high level player, but a low attack rate would suggest that he probably hasn't developed his attack. He has developed his defense. You can see a 39% defense rate isn't bad, to be fair. Not sort of blowing my own trumpet, but that's reasonable. Certainly on par or maybe above par. And you can also see that I'm a bit of a fob player. I've deployed 106 fobs. So that suggests that I'm a bit more of an active player in a sense, really. And there's other stats in there. So straight away, before you attack this person, if you look and see that they've got a low attack defense rate or a high attack defense rate, then you can maybe see where they're at. So if we compare that to this geezer here, this Nazim, for example, then you can see, if I scroll down here, not so good at the 77%, not so good at the defending, never used a fob in all his days. I mean, fucking hell, he's CC9, never used a fob in all his life. What's going on? Cannot believe it. So you could, chances are, absolutely nail him. Probably I could probably nail him with this Gen CC account, really. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit of background what I would do. You know, if I want to choose my battles a little bit before I go wading in, if he had like a 100% defense stat, you know what I mean, probably going to leave him alone, you know, live to fight another day and all that kind of business. Okay, but Scout. Now, what I've done in this particular base, and it does change from base to base, it does change from level to level, really, what sort of defence. So I'm sort of working out what am I likely to going to come across. I'm not going to come across somebody with Ghost Riders and all the other shit. I mean, I've got them, don't get me wrong, but you're not. So ultimately, I'm not going to defend for them. I'm probably going to come across somebody at my level who's going to be attacking with heavy vehicles and things along that sort of line. So there's a golden rule of 2.5 squares per building will create a non-spawn zone. So if I spread that one out a little bit to this left and left more than 2.5 squares, there'd be a little spawn zone, a little green square there where I could launch my troops and I'm close to the base. What I've done on purpose, so if you notice, is I've pushed all the buildings out as far as I can so that the spawn zones are quite far out. Because what I'm expecting is this guy's going to come trundling in with heavy vehicles, and I want enough time for my particular, obviously, turrets, so like my howitzer, for argument's sake. Yeah, and I could scout his base here, couldn't I? I could click on things and think, well, hang on a sec, how much clearance, how much range has these turrets got? So I could scout him before I go in, maybe have a little look round. I mean, I've hidden, if you notice, I've hidden an extra flak just behind the smoke there of the power plant. A quick scroll around before you attack could spot anything like that. And then basically what I want people to either come at us from this angle here or probably from here. So I've got my mines ready. Because let's face it, if you're going to come from this corner here, you've got a hell of a long way to travel. So chances are I want to bring people this way. So the way I've actually positioned my base is quite strategic. I'm hoping ideally it'll come this way at us, and that's why there's 2 mines there. But ultimately, they generally come from around here or from round here, and that's why I've got mines there, and that's why I've got howitzers there and things along that sort of line. But the absolute trick for myself, and it's very, very difficult to pick in because they're there. They're not next to the base. It just so happens these are snipers, level 8 in this particular base, and they're absolutely fucking lethal. They're so hard to pick up. Most people are going to come in here waltzing in thinking level 38, I'm going to have him for breakfast, and then they'll come at me with all helicopters or something like that, and the snipers absolutely fucking ruin them. Or they don't realise I've got the Hinds there, but they're reasonably high power with all the tech. I've got them up to level 8. I don't want any higher than that at 1500 XP. But they carried all the relevant crew tech and things like that, so they carry a massive punch. I mean, I don't particularly massively upgrade my turrets or my walls, but every turret is maxed. So not the turret itself, but the weapon. And then if people start to change, every single turret has the other turrets already maxed as well. So if I decide howitzer's not for me, if I look inside that turret, the railgun's already maxed. The flak's already maxed, but inside there, equally, machine guns are maxed, salvos are maxed, and everything like that. So if I decide to change strategy, I'm not upgrading turrets. So if you've got spare money, that's how things work. But it's this particular way of spacing out your buildings, 2.5 squares per building, gap in between will mean that there's absolutely no spawn zones in between there, because loads of people do this sort of method and then maybe leave a little gap there, and it just means straight away you can launch in from that sort of area. So that's how Gen GC sets up his base at this level. At higher levels, let's be fair, I set the base up massively different, but at this particular level, this is what I'm aiming at. Cheers guys, thanks.